Hello again. In the previous lesson, we learned the elements of a research text, and we looked for the eye-catching features that show us that this is a research article. In this lesson, we are going to read the abstract. Remember, the abstract appears before the text and contains a summary of the text. Now, before we start reading, let's talk a bit about the kind of language that we usually find in research texts. Language in research texts is a bit more difficult than usual. Now, why is that? The author of a research text is usually also the researcher, and researchers use professional jargon, jargon מקצועי, when they write. This means more difficult words, words that we do not see very often. So in a research text, we usually need to use the dictionary more often. Another reason that language in research studies can be more difficult is that researchers often use the passive form. חוקרים בדרך כלל משתמשים בצורה הסבילה של הפועל. בואו נראה דוגמה. For example, it was found that instead of we found that. נמצא ש במקום מצאנו ש. Or the study was conducted instead of we conducted the study. המחקר נערך במקום אנחנו ערכנו את המחקר. Okay, now that we know more about what kind of language to expect, let's zoom in on the abstract. We said that the abstract contains the summary, סיכום, of the text. So our abstract here must mention the main elements of our research study. And our question is, find the following elements of this research study in the abstract. The hypothesis, ההיפותזה או השערת המחקר. The purpose, המטרה. The subjects, הנבדקים. The instruments, כלי המחקר. The results or findings, תוצאות. And finally, the conclusions, המסקנות. Now press pause, find all the elements, and come back when you're ready. You're back? Let's see what you found. Let's start with a hypothesis. In a research study, the hypothesis is very important. The hypothesis refers to the issue that the researchers want to investigate. ההיפותזה, השערת המחקר, מתייחסת לנושא שהחוקרים רוצים לבחון. When we read the abstract, we find the words our hypothesis in the last sentence of the abstract. Now, let's read. Our research confirmed the hypothesis that the characteristics of leadership identified in adults do exist among gifted children. המאפיינים של המנהיגות אשר זוהו אצל מבוגרים קיימים אצל ילדים מחוננים. This is the issue that the researchers want to investigate. זה הנושא. So, we found the hypothesis. Now we want to find the purpose of the research study. In the first sentence, we can read, the aim of the study was. Aim. Aim means the same as purpose, מטרה. Let's continue. To determine whether characteristics of leadership identified among adults also exist among young gifted children. לקבוע אם המאפיינים של מנהיגות שזוהו אצל מבוגרים קיימים אצל ילדים מחוננים. This is the purpose. It sounds very similar to the hypothesis because many times the purpose of the study is actually to check, to see if the hypothesis is true. So we found the purpose. Now, let's go on to see who the subjects were. We already saw from the title that this text is about gifted children. So we're going to look for the words gifted children or something similar. Also remember that to answer correctly a question about the subjects of a study, you must find and include in your answer all the important details about the subjects. Their number, age, where they are from, whatever the text gives us. In the second sentence of the abstract, we can read, "The study was conducted in Israel among 63 gifted children aged 10 to 14. So in this sentence, we found the children and all the details about them. Well, it looks like we found our subjects. Now, let's see what the instruments were. Let's keep on reading the second sentence. Who, this means the children, completed the leadership questionnaire constructed especially for this study. Pay attention to the word questionnaire, she'elon. This is often an instrument in a study. This is something the researchers use. So we found our answer. The instrument was a leadership questionnaire constructed especially for the study. Notice that leadership questionnaire is a noun phrase where the most important word is the last one. So the translation is she'elon manhigut. Constructed especially for this study, נבנה במיוחד לצורכי המחקר. So we found one more element, instruments. Let's find the results or findings. Now let's keep on reading the abstract and see what the results are. Let's zoom in on the next sentence. It's a difficult sentence, so we will break it up. The characteristics found, this is a good sign. We can expect that this sentence will contain what the researchers found, the results. This is the passive form of the verb. זאת הצורה הפסיבית של הפועל. It's like saying the characteristics that were found. המאפיינים שנמצא ש. To distinguish between high and low scores on leadership. Scores from the word score, ציון או ניקוד. So scores mean the people who get the scores, האנשים שמקבלים את הציון. So the results are the characteristics found to distinguish between המאפיינים שנמצא שמבדילים בין between high and low scores, בין מקבלי הניקוד הגבוה לנמוך, were, היו. עכשיו, יש כאן רשימה של התכונות שמבדילות בין אלו שיותר מנהיגים לאלו שפחות. בואו נראה חלק מהן. responsibility, אחריות, desire to dominate, רצון לשלוט, consistency, עקביות, physical energy, אנרגיה פיזית, וכולי וכולי. כלומר, החוקרות מצאו שיש מאפיינים שמבחינים בין אלו שהם יותר מנהיגים לאלו שפחות. So, we found our findings. Let's go to the conclusions. Remember that in the conclusion of a research study, the researcher often says if the results confirmed or did not confirm the hypothesis. במסקנות של המחקר, החוקר אומר לעתים קרובות אם התוצאות אישרו או לא אישרו את ההיפותזה. Let's zoom in on the final sentence. The results confirmed our hypothesis that characteristics of leadership identified in adults do exist among gifted children. The results confirmed the hypothesis. הממצאים אישרו את ההיפותזה שלנו, את השערת המחקר. זו המסקנה שלנו, ואנחנו כבר יודעים מהי השערת המחקר. דיברנו עליה קודם. So we found the conclusions. We're done. We are ending our lesson. What did we learn today? We learned that the text will give a report of a research on the characteristics that are related to leadership in gifted children. How did we learn this? We read the abstract and we identified the elements of this research study. In the next lesson, we will start the close reading. So see you there.